Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here tonight. I have also here Cameron Blake. There he is up there on your screen somewhere, somehow. And we're just joining you tonight in order to chat further about the Franklin River and the fantastic experience that you can have with both of us. If you'd like to join us, we are going down the Franklin River in November. We'll give you all the dates and everything else at the end of the presentation, as well as the URLs in order to book in if that's something that you're interested in doing. We have just a few places left. And so if you'd like to join us, please jump on sooner rather than later. This is an opportunity for you tonight to see what amazing experience it is, and that if you would like to come along to book in and grab one of those last remaining places. And so just as I'm letting the last few people in this evening, I might just see if I can change that so that I don't have to.
While you're doing that, Tom, I'm just letting people know that if they've got any questions that they want to chuck in the chat, I'll be the chat monitor.
Please, if you could.
Yeah, and I'll try to actually stay on this live broadcast the whole time and not run off for emergencies like last time.
So we are recording this session just for FYI for everybody there, just so that we can have this available for the people who can't join us tonight. If you're a cricket what do you call them?
A cricket tragic. It's not going to start.
Tragic fanatic. It is not starting right now, so don't.
It's washed out.
Rush out. It is still raining in Edge at best, and I think it's going to be a little bit delayed. But
if you're a betting man, go put $10 on the draw.
Okay, that's probably not that we encourage any form of gambling here. Only consumption of alcohol. But we'll probably be on the line for about an hour. So if you'd like to stay with us for then, that'd be great. But the opportunity here is just for us to share our experience on the Franklin River. And without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and Cam's going to tell us that he can see all of that. Is that the case, Cameron?
I can see all that, Tom. Yes.
Fabulous. Hey, look, Cam's more probably experienced to talk about this than I am. Cam, how many times have you been down the Franklin River now?
This November that we're going will be, I think it's the 8th or 9th. Yeah.
9th. Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe ninth time. So yeah, it's and it's different every time, hence the reason we keep going back. So yeah, but
I guess it's a bit like Africa. You know, people go to Africa once and then it just gets under their skin and they're like, oh my God. And you never tire of going and seeing, you know, the incredible animals in Africa and going on safari and having that whole experience. Is that the same for you? You just never get bored of going down this river?
It is. Like every time you go down with different people, which is great. I think, it's one of those places, like I haven't traveled anywhere near as extensively as you, and maybe some other people on here, but it's one of those places that every time I go down there, I sort of scratch myself about 2 days and you're just like, really, is this actually real? Like this place? Like, can we still have places like this in the world where it's completely untouched with no sort of human interaction or interference with the landscape or anything like that? It's one of those things that just sort of keeps coming back to me. Like you go down there and it's just every corner feels like it's a new corner again, even though I've been down there a few times. So
it's almost like you feel like you're the first people to sort of see that landscape, don't you think?
Yeah, you are. And I think there's, and you probably get this feeling as well, but like when you've got a group with you and you know, you'll have a bit of an idea of what's coming up around the corner, especially Rock Island Bend. I love that day when we get to Rock Island Bend because I know what's coming up.
Yeah. And that day, by the way, doesn't happen until day 5, people.
Day 5, that's right.
So there is a little bit of anticipation and wait, and you really have to sort of stick it out until day 5, but it's so worth it, as you know, Cam. So
yeah, exactly. But the anticipation of those sort of days, and that's just one of the days, it's incredible. But like I get a really good,
every day's good.
I love the feeling when I know customers are going to say, OMG, this is incredible, this place. And then it just every day sort of gets better. And then, it's a magical spot, as you know. And it's got you by the sound of it. It's got the bug of you getting you back down there again.
Well, to be honest, I was a little hesitant about going down in the first place. As you know, I'd heard firsthand of some interesting experiences. Let's just call it that. And I'd not had experience in rafting before. So I'd never done rafting before. I've done a bit of kayaking out here on the bay and what have you, but the whole rafting thing really didn't sit comfortably with me. However, the compulsion for me to want to go to see this incredible place just got the better of me. I think just on a, I think I'd probably said to you, no, no, no. And then all of a sudden one night you got the booking from me. Maybe I'd had too many wines or something, but I just went, I've got to do it because
I got to do it. Yeah.
For me, being so passionate about landscape photography here in Australia and reading more and it's admiring so much of Peter Dombrovskis' work, kind of felt like I couldn't live this life without having gone and seen what he captured so incredibly well in that photograph. And it wasn't for me to go back. It wasn't for me to go and take that photograph and try and do it any better or have that for myself. To be honest, I don't need that photograph at all in that sense. It was more just, there's so much mystique and history behind this place, the southwest of Tasmania and the Franklin River.
Yeah.
That it just drew me in. I just was like, I have to go and see this place. And your tour was the perfect opportunity for me to join in and do that. And I was a paying customer, just like everybody else last year. I didn't get any special deals or anything like that.
No, you got the same rubbish bag to go.
I got
the same as everyone else. You got the same bag.
I didn't get any preferential treatment, people.
No, you got the same toilet paper, the same shovel, everything.
Yeah, but look, amazing experience. Look, it's probably not for everybody, and that's why we're sharing this tonight, because at the end of the day, it's not 5-star accommodation and anything like that. If you love the outdoors and you like roughing it a little, as in you're used to camping, this is going to be an amazing experience for you. If you're somebody who doesn't like camping at all, you don't like being perhaps a little bit cold or a little bit wet, you like to have a hot shower and you like to have a nice comfy bed to sleep in each night, this is not the trip for you, okay?
No.
It's just not possible in a place like this where you are going into such a remote area to have those creature comforts. So you do have to rough it a bit, but that's part of the charm of this workshop as well.
Yeah, I actually think that's one of the highlights of the trip. It sounds silly, but, where else can you sort of go through a World Heritage area, which is almost completely untouched by man. And you sleep in forests, you sleep in caves with glowworms, you sleep under Huon pines.
Yes.
You sleep under all the rock ledges and all that kind of stuff at Newlands Cascades. There is no restaurants, there is no hotels, there is no flushable toilets. Like it is as wild adventure as you can get without literally being thrown into the middle of nowhere like those shows do. And what's it called, Lost or Alone, where they have Alone. Yes. It's like that. But that to me, that's one of the most amazing things of this trip is that, and we've had guests who have been on over the last few years who had those same reservations before they came down, like, I wasn't sure how I'd go camping every night. I wasn't sure how I'd go without a shower for a week. I wasn't sure about X, Y, and Z. And they got to the end and they said that was just one of the highlights of the whole trip, is that you are completely in wilderness. You're completely immersed into it every day of the week that you're down there. So yeah, it's not for the people that want to, like you said, a comfy pillow and a comfy bed. It'll be uncomfortable at times, but I think
challenging as well.
Exactly.
Really challenging in a sense that it'll challenge every part of you in a sense that you'll be a little bit nervous about the whole thing, leading up to it all. And the first day being on the river, you're a little bit, okay, can I really do this?
Yeah.
And as you just said, how many people come out of that and just go, oh my God, this was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. Me personally as well, I'd have to say it goes in the top. It goes in the top 5 highlights of my experiences here in Australia, and if not the world, in terms of what I've done.
Yeah, same. Like I always put this up the top of my list of things I've done. Yeah. And out of the 8 years I've been going down there, I don't know, I've probably taken about 40 or 50 people down the river in total. Yeah. And I've never had one person at the end of it go, you know what, I think I need a refund, or I think I need to not associate with you anymore because it's just so bad.
Yeah.
They've never had a negative experience down there, even to the point, we had one customer who had a little bit of a bruise on the way down, and they were still happy at the end of it, because like you said, it's challenging, it's that experience, and it's one of those experiences that you'll talk about forever. You don't forget the Franklin ever. Regardless which way it goes.
True.
Yeah.
True. Look, if you're not muted already, guys, if you could just mute yourselves there, that way we can just have a really clean presentation to show others if need be. So if you're not muted already, please mute yourselves. And if you've got any questions, just throw it there in the chat. And
we had one person ask if they could make you and I spotlight you and Tom. Just a suggestion. Do you know?
Oh, how do I spotlight you as well?
I don't know. It sounds a bit technical.
No. I think I can spotlight. Where does it say spotlight for everybody? And I spotlighted you for everybody, and I've added me as a spotlight as well.
Well, hopefully that's better.
Maybe that works. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you very much for that.
Cool.
Hopefully that has meant that you can both see Cam and I now on this presentation only.
Yeah.
I just noticed that I minimized my screen, for example, because I didn't want other people's photos or records here on the recording, just in case they wanted privacy, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But hey, look, I chose this. Let's get into some photos because we've talked about.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Look, I chose this photograph because it just sort of summed up for me what the experience for me was like on the Franklin last November. You can see the boat down in the bottom of the frame there, very tiny as such. There they are. There's the other crew there. And look, this was just amazing. This was around sort of every corner you'd have an experience like this. And so it is very much a part of what the Franklin is about. These sort of beautiful, it's just serene environments where you're protected from the wind. There might be cloud, there might be sunshine. There's beautiful lush rainforest, tall mountains. There's a view around every corner, and it is incredible. And it's hence why they use this photograph on the campaign in order to save the Franklin River from being dammed. And if this, of course, is a terrible reproduction of the Rock Island Bend, but I've just ripped this off the internet. But you will get to see this for yourself, as we said, on day 5 of going down the Franklin River.
Did Rock Island Ben live up to what's that next photo? Did Rock Island Ben live up to your expectations?
Well, it was.
I know. It
was very much different. It was very much different to what I had envisaged because of the conditions that we had, where the river was quite sort of tumultuous that particular day. I would like to go back and see it perhaps in conditions similar to this. So it would be nice to experience that again this time around. And it's different every time you go. So
you can skip the next photo as well if you like.
Okay. Well, we need
to show that photo because that's what we look like.
Oh, I've got a bit of this. It's all about where you start. This is the Collingwood River, which is a sort of tributary of the Franklin River, and this is where we put the rafts in, and this is where we carry the gear down, and all the stuff goes on there. This is a typical sort of setup here with Tanina, yeah. Thank you. I always get Joe's and Tanina's names mixed up. But this is what we set up in each day. We've got the rashi underneath. You've got the wetsuit over the top, the boardies. You can carry, a portable, or should I say, a waterproof camera, your iPhone in a case, et cetera, and just the Dunlop volleys there, which are great for keeping grip if you're jumping out and having to sort of walk anywhere on slippery rocks or go to.
And the Dunlop volleys, I've tried all different types of shoes down there. I've tried to be cool. I've tried to look cool. I've tried to do certain things, but the Dunlop volleys are the best. They have the best grip for the rocks. So,
it's certainly not a fashion parade, though, is it, Cameron?
No, I wouldn't. Well, you look pretty good the first couple of days, but after that, you went downhill. But it's not a fashion parade. It's a practical parade. Like you need to have the wetsuit. The board shorts you wear are just so you don't rip the wetsuit as much if you're getting on rocks and sitting on things and stuff like that. A lot of the gear is supplied. The other thing you need to supply is really the Dunlop volleys. And probably some thermals and board shorts and stuff like that. All the essential gear, such as your rashi and your wetsuit and your helmet and your life vest and all that kind of stuff. It's all supplied. So you don't have to outlay any money for that kind of stuff.
You don't need anything in particular to bring along.
Just a Dunlop
things to bring, but you don't need to necessarily go out and buy it yourself.
Right.
Everything that you need to bring, you'll no doubt have already.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, but it's not a fashion parade, but it's quite funny. I find that one of the funny parts of the trip is when everyone, the first day, all get in their little suits and everyone's trying to pretend like they're cool and don't look dorky, but they last about 2 seconds, and then you're into it. So
you get very used to getting dressed and knowing what sort of order you have to put everything on, because of course that's what you're doing each and every day. Yep. And then this is a typical camp where you're pulling the rough stuff by the side of the river, and the guides are incredible, and they do all the work behind the scenes in order to get the meals ready, etc. It's just required for you to just grab your pack. You've got this special pack that they supply, and that's where you stuff all of your personal gear into that, excluding the cameras. And that's where you'll have, your sleeping gear and, a nice dry change of clothes and things like that. And then you roll out your bag and you find a spot to camp. And this was the first night there. What's this one called again, Cam?
That is Angel Falls, I think it is. Yeah, Angel Falls.
Yep. And this was up above the river there, and we had a great little sort of view. This is my sort of view looking out over the river. And this is Cam's little spot that he grabbed, a little bit more protected.
We really should have gone through these photos before you put them up, shouldn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
There we go. That's
hey,
better.
look, there's often at that time when you pull up the raft and you're sort of making camp for the day, that's a chance for you to chat with fellow participants, build camaraderie, share stories about the day, grab your camera, go for a walk. Just feel normal again, grab a cup of tea or a hot chocolate or something like that, coffee even, things like that, and just relax. And there's plenty of time for that.
Something else I love about the river is that blue bucket there that everyone's sort of standing around. So with the river, it is 100% fresh water, so you can literally drink straight out of the river. It's as pure can be. So if we collect water from the river, and we use that for cooking, we use that for cleaning, we use it for drinking, the whole lot. When we're sort of just paddling along, you can just dip a cup into the river and drink straight out of the river. Yeah. It's got to be one of the last places on earth you can do that, where the water's purely fresh, where you can drink straight out of it, which I love. So
magical. Absolutely. Yeah, it is gorgeous. That's for sure. This is a sort of typical, campfire, sitting around the dinner table at night, where it was raining that particular night, so we all stood under the tarp and enjoyed ourselves. But this is typically what it looks like when you are sitting in the raft itself. You'll have a guide that's at the back, and then you'll have 4 of you, 2 each side at the front, paddling.
And I was going to say, there's usually at least 2 in either boat not paddling, and the other 2 are doing. So by this looks like Joe's not doing any work.
What do they call them? Teabaggers, where they just paddle in the river without doing much at all.
Yeah, their oars aren't waterproof, so they don't put them in the water.
Look, it does require paddling. It's not like you've got professional paddlers there to do it yourself. You are very much required to participate. It doesn't require somebody to be an athlete in order to do this. We had people that were, Jim's got to be 75, for example.
Yeah, and I think David's just turned 70 as well.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
But it does require people who probably don't have any back problems, because as you can see, you're sitting in that raft for probably sometimes 4 to 6 hours a day. Would you say, Cam?
Yeah, it varies, but I think the longest you'll do is sort of like 5 or 6 hours in the day.
And there's regular breaks where you can stop, you can go to the loo, and we can stretch our legs and things like that. And obviously this is a photographic workshop, so if there's an opportunity for us to stop and get a great photograph, we want to do that as well. When you're going along the river, often it's great that if you have a waterproof camera that's stuffed down your top there, or an iPhone that's in a waterproof case, you can that's what I had. I just had my iPhone in a waterproof case, and I'd dig it out and I'd do videos or take lots of photos, things like that. And so that was an easy way to capture photos along the way. But we are modifying the workshop this year so that we'll have our digital SLR cameras available, so you can pull them out and take a really quality photo as we go along.
So I'll give a quick rundown of how that normally works and how we're going to change it this time around. So normally what happened is everyone had a small Pelican case that they had on the raft. So you put all your sort of, usually it's an SLR with 1 or 2 lenses, memory
similar
cards,
to this grey one on top here.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone had one of those, but what it means is that they have to sort of pack them strategically around all the boats. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to have maybe 3 larger Pelican cases that we share amongst each raft, so you can just put all your cameras in and out. So what that means is that we'll have probably a hell of a lot more photo opportunities in the rafts than we normally do. So you'll be able to probably shoot a bit more from in the raft, where they can slow down and pull off to the side, and we can shoot back up the river, or shoot an eagle flying overhead, or shoot a hue and pine, or whatever it might be. So we're working with Elias and the team how we manage that best, because we can also announce that they've made us an exclusive photography tour. They're not going to take on any other photography tours down that river apart from us, which is great. Yeah. So what that means is that we're going to go through the map of the Franklin with Elias and his team. We're going to dot out exactly where we want to be and when we want to be, and we're going to do our very best to put people in the absolute perfect spots at the perfect time of day. So yeah, really excited about that. It should make the trips even better again.
And we're going to show you more of those, beautiful shots that you can get along the river. Just a second. We're just going sort of through more of the sort of like behind the scenes type and logistical type shots for the minute, but then we'll get it.
There's Joe not paddling again.
Well, this is called the
Erebus.
Thank you. I wanted to say that word, but I couldn't. I wanted to go to the abyss as well. Yep. So this was one of the areas with it. I think they were going to put 3 dams in the Franklin, weren't they, Cam? And this was the furthest one upstream. And this is a very narrow section of the river, but it's very deep. So it's actually quite calm through here. Absolutely spectacular. And what we did is we made camp just the other side of it. And then we had all afternoon to just take the boats up and explore ourselves and take lots of great photographs, as you can see here. It was absolutely magical with all this foam on the river and the deep black water and the light reflecting off the cliffs and et cetera, et cetera. It was absolutely spectacular. So there are some great opportunities like that as well, outside of taking just the photographs around camp, which is what Jim's doing here. We just go for walks and just sort of go, right, okay, let's see where we can get photos of around here. And you'll be amazed. The more you look, the more you're looking for something, the more you see, and the more there are photographs there are to take. Even within a sort of constricted sort of area of the campsite, etc. In fact, this is just this is called, what's it called? Which cave?
No, this is Newlands Cascades.
Newlands Cascades.
Yeah.
And this is only 500 meters down from Rock Island Bend. So in theory, if you wanted to, you could walk up to Rock Island Bend and get your own great photograph from there. Yeah, we stopped there along the way to get the photos, but then if you camped here for a night or two, you could revisit Rock Island Bend several times.
Yeah, on most trips I've done, we generally have a rest day at Newlands Cascades. It seems to be one of the more common places that we have a rest day on.
Yeah,
that's all dictated by the river and if the river's flowing fast or slow, etc. But if we do have a rest day there, it's one of the best spots on the river. You got this beautiful river running through your scene. Like I said, you can walk back up to Rock Island Bend. Down further river, just over the river from the camp, there's the waterfall that runs off into the river as well, which is spectacular. Again, this is why I love this trip so much, because where Jim's lying on there, you can't get there by just parking your car and walking a couple of hours to get there. Like that's 6 days, 5 days down a river to get into the middle of this wilderness. So if landscape and wilderness photography is something that really gets your juices flowing, then this is the place you want to be, because you can't get any wilder than this place. You're 5-6 days away from anywhere really.
Anywhere. And I guess, I do want to mention that when you first started, Cam, if you need to unplug for a week, this is the perfect place to do it. I mean, I know, for example, Stu, who's coming on the workshop, he works a very busy corporate job. He will lavish the opportunity here to do his mobile phone and be uncontactable for a week or so. So not to say that we don't have contact with the outside world should there be any need to. We do, but that's only in an emergency. Obviously, all safety precautions are taken care of. And
depends how many chocolate bars you got. How many chocolate bars you got to bribe us to send a message to your husband or wife? I'm
definitely taking chocolate this time around. I mean, we are very well fed, by the way. Here's a good segue. This was a beautiful seafood lasca they put on one night for us. Cam told me about the food and I went, oh yeah, I can't, have to wait to, see it to believe it. He's going, oh, they pull out steaks and they do this and they do that. And I'm like, probably not on our trip. But this was at the Erebus, wasn't it? This was like date night 2 or 3. And they cook up the best meals, all fresh food. It's just glorious. You won't go hungry. We are very well fed. I think I planned to try and lose a few kilos on this trip, but instead gained a few. They really look after us, the guides. They're very good at what they do for such a remote.
And like you said, there's always leftovers as well. It's like they're always yelling out, come on, eat more. We can't throw this out. You got to eat it. And so you eat like kings on the way down. And it's amazing. Like you said, they pull out, porterhouse steaks on day 6. You're like, where the hell did they come from? Like, where they take
those massive eskies that we have to haul?
Yeah, that's right. You got to carry off the boat to camp every day.
This is a beautiful camp alongside the Erebus where we were camped there. I was showing you the photos of the other day. This is another section. We actually went swimming that day. I don't know if you did, Cam, but I went for a bit of a dip that day. No, not for you.
Not for me.
Typical camp set up there. using
cheese,
all of these.
That's a happy hour, cheese and cracker night. And
this is it. This is it. Yeah, you do. You have happy hour. And all of these blue drums are where they keep all of the food, and they're all labeled with lunch and dinners and all that sort of stuff. And they're obviously in the raft, and we assist the guides in order to get those in and out each time. And you can help as little or as much as you want.
I was just about to say that. A lot of people ask, how much lifting and stuff do you have to do? Well, I think almost, to their credit, the guides could almost do it all by themselves if they had to. Obviously, it's a hell of a lot easier if people chip in and help carry things around and set things up. But it's almost set up for those guides. If they had a group of people that weren't able to really lift heavy things at all, they'd still be able to do it. But
of course,
Tom's very strong. He can carry all the things for you. And this is a place I reckon we're going to.
We have to stop here next time. We stopped there, obviously, but
this is the Livingstone's Cut. It's a huge gorge that runs off the river, and it was spectacular.
Been carved out over hundreds or millions of years. And it very much sort of reminds me of those slot canyons in the USA, but it's a green, obviously lush version of it. But this photo doesn't do us justice. It's quite enclosed, and it goes up for a very tall period. So it's absolutely gorgeous. And just views like this are just absolutely spectacular. And
you're getting me all excited again for this trip.
No, let's go.
Let's go.
There can sometimes be a little bit of sort of what we call porterage. So you're not always in the boats. Sometimes the guides will get you out of the boats and say, "Can you walk around?" and we'll meet you on the other side, because the river does have some sort of tricky sections, shall we call it, where they need to do some really specialty rafting in order to get them through the more treacherous, not sure to say treacherous, but interesting spots, should we say?
I think they're more the technical
spots.
Joe just put in the chat, walk ?
Yes,
Joe. Yes,
walk,
Joe. We do
sometimes
walk.
a little bit of a scramble, I guess you could call it that. Bit of a climbing session sometimes, a bit like that. But it's all very capable for those who have got good mobility and moderate level of fitness. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Look, there's that was around Rock Island Bend that day. So a little bit of.
Was that your front door swimming pool in that last picture? Was it? I remember that day. That's me over.
That's
to
my
the left.
wetsuit. That's my wetsuit. trying to dam up this pool that was trying to flood my camp.
That's because Joe took all the nice spots with her tent.
We did. We were very chivalrous that particular that evening. Good evening.
Yeah.
I'm a little late tonight. Don't worry. Thank you for joining us. And just again, some more beautiful scenes as you paddle along.
I love that spot. That's a really.
This is as you get sort of, the river's interesting. It sort of starts off sort of narrow to begin with, and then widens and gets into this place called the Great Ravine, where it dips down and it's quite rough in places several times, and then it flattens out in the last couple of days. In the last couple of days, the river's quite wide and quite benign, and it's just very tranquil, isn't it?
Yeah, so you've got the upper Franklin River, then you've got the Great Ravine, which is the middle, then you've got the lower Franklin. And the lower Franklin, like Tom said, it spreads out, gets a lot wider. But one of the beautiful things is that you go through all these different geology, all these different rock formations all the way down. So you can see next to the raft there that there's all these amazing limestone cliffs all the way down the bottom half of the Franklin. Yes. They make for some incredible photos. They almost look like camouflage, like they're being painted. But you get all these different rocks, quartz, you get some dolerite, you get
look at that.
That's incredible.
Those jagged pieces that come out.
Yeah.
There's Aboriginal caves, ancient Aboriginal caves through there as well.
There is, there's absolutely.
And then of course we end up meeting the Gordon River and paddling up the Gordon River for a couple of kilometers, and we end up at a place called St.
John Falls.
St. John's Falls. And
Heritage called Heritage Landing, it's called.
Heritage Landing, and this is where this magnificent yacht comes from Strawn.
It does. The Stormbreaker, it's called.
And it takes and it brings down much needed supplies, as you can see, that are being drunk right there. That's a non-alcoholic cider, surely. And they cook up a storm on the jetty there, and it's a great way to finish the trip. And then the following day, we get up nice and early to jump on this boat, and it takes us very nicely back to Strawn, and we'll show you some. And if you've ever been on a cruise on the Gordon River, or if you ever wanted to, you will get unbelievable photographs on the way back.
Yeah, it's better than the cruises out of Strawn, because the cruises out of Strawn can only go a certain the Stormbreaker is one of only 1 or 2 commercial vehicles or commercial yachts that can go all the way up the river. So you go a lot further up than the commercial touristy ones, which is good.
Yeah. In fact, it's 6 hours, I think, isn't it?
It takes about 6 hours.
You're back to Strawn.
Yeah, we usually leave on daybreak and you get back about lunchtime. If you're lucky, I've been across Macquarie Harbour. We've had dolphins following us along. And then you get views back at Frenchman's Cap and all the mountains and stuff like that. So
it's a lovely way to end the trip, and it's nice
to
paddle and just sit back and relax and enjoy the views.
And then you get to about 5 k's out of Strawn, and everyone's phone starts beeping, and you realize you're back to civilization, and the adventure finishes.
This is just a few of the shots that I've shortlisted from my journey along the river. Some beautiful panoramas that you can get along the way, some stunning reflections, of course. You can really take the photography however you like. You can shoot beautiful wide angle shots. This is shot with an extreme 14mm lens, and me getting really down close to that foreground there and the beautiful color of the pools and the reflection, that nice glossy reflection off the wet rocks, etc., etc. Or you can do something more intimate, be it the reflections, macro. Here we go, a little bit of wildlife. This little bird was nesting right opposite Cam's tent on that first night, or should I say his little campsite there. Notice this, I think it was a rose robin sitting in this beautiful little nest there. But these sorts of things, I love these more intimate abstracts that you can get there as well. And there's plenty of time to explore all of that while you're at camp, for example.
Yeah, there's lots of, at camp, like most days are only sort of 3 to 4 hours on the river. And then you get plenty of time in camp to set up, chill out, eat, relax, sleep, read a book, go out and take heaps of photos, whatever you want to do.
This is all in the Erebus there. With those beautiful foam.
It's a pretty special place, the Erebus.
It is. The Waratahs were out, weren't they?
They were, in full bloom,
all over the landscape. You pick them up as you go down, particularly on those first few days. They sort of disappear after that because we drop down in altitude.
And you see, like I said as well, you see a lot of the Huon pines, which are only found in southwest Tasmania. They litter all along the river for days on end. Pretty cool.
Absolutely. There's a fair bit of this. Let's get out of the Erebus.
You enjoyed the Erebus, didn't you?
I did. I've done a very tight edit of these photos. Bloody hell, there's lots and lots and lots of this same thing. There was an opportunity to go on a hike near the Erebus there, where we climbed up quite a steep side of a range there in order to get some perspectives of looking down on the Franklin River, and that's the river flowing through the sort of the middle of the frame there, and that was fabulous to get.
It gives you a good idea of where this river sort of runs. Like it's like I said, it just cuts its way through real rugged, remote Tassie wilderness, and and then you got all these little rivers and streams running off down. That's a Huon pine on the right hand side there. That's a little baby Huon pine. And the rock formations and the color, the reflections. You don't have to take long to go down this river to realize why Peter Dombrowskis went down a few times. Like you can just imagine him. He would have been like a little kid in the candy store going down there with the rocks. And
well, he does love his sort of more wilderness type landscape, doesn't he? And so and that remoteness, him being on his own, for example, and we've got to think that he was doing this before the Franklin River was due to be dammed. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So it wasn't like he went specifically in order to take photos in order to try and save the Franklin River. That photograph that Bob Brown chose in order to have it be used for those advertisements was because Peter had been down there already just to document the river, so to speak, as I understand it. So so he was just down there wanting to enjoy how beautiful this place really was.
And for people asking or maybe thinking, why is the river orange, or why does it have a color? It's got a tannin from all the vegetation up in the button grass plains. So it gives this, it's almost, if you go for a swim in the river, or if you're lucky enough to sort of topple out of the boat, you actually see, it actually looks like you're falling into beer. Like it looks like a glass of beer when you get in there, but it's pure, and it's just the color off the button grass plains from up high. But it actually helps sort of give a real interesting color to all the rocks and the foliage and stuff like that around the river. So it actually adds to the photos, I reckon, having that color.
Yes, and of course, there's my one and only sort of Rock Island Bend photograph, which is not looking much like Peter Dombrowski's at all. It's the river was a little bit more angry that particular day, so that was our experience there at Rock Island Bend. Beautiful macros. Oh God, that was gorgeous.
Yep.
That was a lovely sunset we had there at Newlands Cascade.
That was good.
Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I got really into all of this stuff where if you you can get to a place sometimes where the water is dripping off the cliffs behind you directly into the water. So that's what this sort of circular ripple is here. And so we've got this. I love these sorts of things. I love photographing this, where you can almost get your own reflection in the bubbles. But
it's almost like an aerial.
Well, it is exactly right. It's like like you've got those beautiful patterns that make it really
that little waterfall is literally out your front door at Newlands Cascade. You hear this trickle all night long. I'm
hoping
beautiful.
I have a better photograph of that waterfall.
Yeah.
It seems like these photos are a little bit mixed up, but it's
that's just in the same spot. You get these beautiful and because you're on the river for 7-8 days, you really do become one with the river. Like everywhere you hear the river nonstop and you're listening to the river and you're on the river, but it almost becomes a feature in a lot of your photos as well, like the movement of water and like whether or not it's movement or still or the real rough bits of water or the nice tranquil bits of water. It's really nice to be able to incorporate it in a lot of photos.
Did we all take tripods down with us?
Not everyone. You don't have to take a tripod. If you've got an Olympus, for example, or something with really good image stabilization, you can get away with doing like a second handheld on a lot of those, and that's enough usually to blur that water movement. But I think a few of us did, and a few of us didn't. I think we had like a bit of a mixture. But
I think I did, and this is what these photographs are taken with. I took my neutral density filter down and just played, with this sort of static bank of the river in the background there, and then in the foreground.
But the good thing about these trips as well, because we're all photographers, usually you'll find in the lead up to the trip that there'll be a few Canon users, maybe a few Sonys, a few Nikons, whatever. And you can sort of coordinate throughout the group, like, instead of bringing the whole bag of lenses, which you sort of can't do, you can sort of borrow and swap along the way. If you need a tripod, everyone's willing to sort of help out and share stuff around. So you become a bit of a team on the way down to make sure that you'll get the right photos that you want, which is the way it should be, really.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. More of these beautiful little abstracts, things like that. And of course, the more intimate. I think that plant was about that high, but it could look like it was, meters high, but it wasn't. It was
little myrtles. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
That one, yeah, a little bit of moss and myrtle and pepperberry.
Yeah. I find that sometimes if I'm not seeing my wide angle shots, if I'm not it's not speaking to me, I'll then put a longer lens on, or go to the extreme of the lens I've got on, and then just look for these more macro type shots, these more intimate shots. And that way I'm looking at a very sort of narrow view. And all of a sudden, when you start looking in that part of the world, the micro rather than the macro, or the macro rather than micro, whichever way it might be, it all starts opening up for you, and you start seeing all these great ideas everywhere. And that's what this series of photographs is taken from the Newlands Cascades. I love these shots, these mists.
Yeah, the mood. That was a spectacular morning. That was when all the rain had sort of passed for that day. And these are the good ones as well. These patterns, and like, how long does it take nature to carve that hole out? Decades, more decades, centuries.
And then I found this to be one of the highlights too. What's this place called, Cam?
This is called the Lost World. So this is a limestone river system that we walk up. So it's perfectly safe. And you got your Dunlop volleys. It's only about ankle, shin deep, and maybe a knee deep in some sections, but you can walk up this for kilometers, and it's just this beautiful narrow chasm with all this water running down. And you can see that Tom's got all the foliage hanging on from the jungle above is all sort of coming into it. But yeah, it's a really cool little spot. And we'll probably spend a bit longer in this section, this tour, because we'll be able to organize that to make sure we do stop there. This is one of the highlights of it.
Yeah, it was incredible. That's for sure. Not the easiest place to photograph, because you got that sort of water rushing at your feet there, and it's very constricted. So, you know, if anyone was to ask, so what sort of camera should I take, or what sort of camera lenses should I take? I would certainly take something super wide, if you've got it, and then something in the mid range as well. So, you know, a 14 to 30 mil, I've got a Nikon Z7, so I took a 14 to 30, and I also took the 24 to 120 mil lens, and that was more than enough. You don't need anything super long. There's not a lot of wildlife to photograph as such, but there's all these, obviously, you know, sort of a mid-range lens is really what would fit almost any type of photograph.
That's so that one's Sir John's Falls. So that's at the end where we finish up and we pack up on the sailboat, but that's out the back where you camp. So you get it just looks out of this world. It just looks Jurassic.
Cam, I know we're coming towards the end. So anything that you wanted to share, or is it
look, I'm happy to
that we might have?
I'm happy to share a few photos if you want me to share some of mine, or
yeah, sure, absolutely. I know that I've just got a couple here right at the end here of the Gordon River, and that sort of experience we had. These are all taken on the same morning, so you know the sun was trying to peek out, and the beautiful mist and fog and things like that. So, I'll let you stop sharing there, and
let me share
if you like. If you'd like to.
How do you let me
make you host? There we go. And if anyone's got any questions, or there's Jo right there. Is she going to jump on and actually?
Well, if you want to, while I can just slowly go through some photos. If you want to get Jo, if you want to get
as well,
if you want to get on there with Jo and talk about it as well.
Yes. So, Jo, are you happy to unmute yourself and perhaps share a little bit more of experience about what you had last year with us?
Did we pay her the money before she
did we send her that gift hamper?
The check?
I still maintain, what's it been, 6 months since we went? So November, what are we, June? So it must be 8 months since we went.
Yeah.
And even when I describe it now, I still say it's the most epic thing that I've done, apart from being married and having my children.
Wow.
So, she has to say that.
Because being married and children
thing. She'd feel guilty otherwise, but really, this topped all of that.
You know, and I'm not a particularly adventurous person. And you know, you needed a base level of fitness, I suppose, but I'm still just in awe of the scenery that you see literally from day one to the end, to when you get off at Strawn, and the experience and the people that you meet, and you know, the food that we ate. If anybody thought we were going to lose weight in 8 days, well, we didn't. We probably gained weight because of how much food we ate, and just the camaraderie, and the days when it was hard, and you know, when I dropped a bag over the cliff and on our hike.
Did you have any moments of weakness at all, Jo? Like, did you get any cuddles from Tom or any?
So on the day that we got to Rock Island Bend, which was kind of a highlight for different reasons, the river was in minor flood, so we couldn't. So we had lunch there, which was great. But I can still remember the roar of the river at that spot, because there was a massive and a hole in the water, and I think the guides are so good at just everything that they do, but a couple of them in particular were experts at being able to explain the way the water runs, and how it creates holes and so forth. But to see, you know, how big that water was, and so we were stuck there and we couldn't take the boats any further down the river, which meant we needed to hike down to our camp, which was not that far. But the problem was we had to go over some trees, up the side of a waterfall, across the side of the mountain, and down to the next, to where our camp was. And it probably took us a little bit while. There was, you know, some different levels of fitness, you know, kind of in the group, but it was really hard work. That was probably one of the hardest moments.
That shot's there. That's Rock Island Bend. Usually, you can see that white water running through the middle of the frame there. Usually you can get almost in the middle of that, standing on dry ground. Out of all the years I've been going down, that was probably the most wildest I'd seen it on that section of the river. But I also think it made it really exciting as well. Like, it's you guys were sort of like, oh, this is it. And I'm like, I've never seen it like this before. This is crazy. This is unreal.
And it was all misty, and
misty,
like the mist that was being created off the water was just amazing to see. And then we hiked down to this spot here at Newlands Cascade to camp, where we then spent an extra day in camp. So, and somebody in the group may, we had to carry our bags, then we were sort of ferrying them across, and
then we threw them in the river. We didn't like to go.
And then I may or may not have
cliffs.
I may or may not have got a little bit exuberant trying to bring a bag across, and it ended up going down the little bit of the cliff and falling off the cliff. The problem was it wasn't my bag; it was one of the other guys' bags. But anyway, Leon ran literally around the corner, launched himself off the cliff, retrieved the bag, and I stopped crying after Tom gave me a hug whilst he was laughing at me.
That doesn't sound like Tom.
I can't remember that I was laughing at you. I think I was empathetic. Surely, I was very compassionate.
No.
But there's lots of memories and but just the change in the scenery, and just I can remember many moments just being in the boat, and you're supposed to be always paddling and concentrating, but it was very hard to not just stop and be gazing at the scenery as you were going past, and thinking in context of how many people go down the river every year, and
very few, mind you. I think it's 400.
That's what I was alluding to. So not very many people go down there every year, and being a part of that.
She's going off script, Tom. She's going off script.
That's it.
No. You're right. There's not many people that go down each year. These guys do around about a dozen tours a season, I think it was. And still in the scheme of things, like if you think of the overland track gets about 3,500 people a year now, where the Franklin would only get like a tenth of that a year. So you're still in very rare company if you've been down the Franklin. Look at that, they made pizzas.
This is, if you were to compare the overland to the Franklin, I'd say that this is I have to say, it's hard because it's apples and oranges, but I would choose this over the overland track.
You love the overland track. You keep going back.
It's a hard bloody slog. I think this is much easier than walking down the track.
You know what? You're right in what you're saying, though, because a lot of people do ask me, "Oh, is it easier than the overland track?" And I think physically, it probably is easier. There, like I said, there is a little bit of lifting to help around camp, just getting stuff from the river to the camp and stuff like that. But overall, like, your legs aren't sore, your ankles aren't sore, your shoulders get a little bit sore towards the end of the trip of being paddling, but you're not sort of sitting down each day and just say, I got to put my feet up because I've been walking all day. Where the overland track is, you got 20 kilos on your back and you're walking up and down and rolling ankles. And
the best thing is that if it rains while you're on the Franklin River, it doesn't matter because you're wet anyway. I mean, constantly.
Yeah.
Whereas if it rains on the overland track, it's bloody miserable.
Yeah. Come on now.
Cold, wet, and windy.
You mainlanders are a bit soft, I think.
Oh, we are. We're not used to this crazy weather. Hey, thinking ahead to the trip, Cam.
Yes.
We have just a few places left. It's the 10th to the 19th of November, and you can book either via Cam's website or mine, tasphoto.com.au or tomputtworkshops.com. And if you'd like to join us, or if you've got any further questions, just reach out to, oh God, it's me doing my old man sailor type pose, or I'm actually, look, I should send that to Stella and see if they'll sponsor me. But we'd love to have you join us. We've got a great crew already that's coming along, and I just know that the camaraderie is going to be fantastic and it's going to be a great time. So if this is something that I think you're sort of saying to yourself, am I capable or not? Hopefully we've explained it enough that it is very much within most people's reach. If you're unsure, just reach out to us and ask a question. And if it's something that you kind of like, I like the idea of doing it, but I'm still a little bit unsure, I think you should probably just do it. You can't, if you overthink this, you'll convince yourself not to do it. Whereas if you did what I did, which is kind of like, I really want to do this and I probably just should book in and commit myself, I would absolutely do that, because as Joe said, as Cam said, and as I've said, it's probably one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. It's very hard to put it into words. It's very hard to show it visually, because you've really got to experience it for yourself. It's like Carragini. I saw 1,000,001 photographs of Carragini before I went there. And I'm like, what is it about this place? I don't need to see another photograph from that area. And then when I went there and experienced it for myself, I went, all right, I see what all the fuss is about. This is the same place. It's just that you won't get many people who talk about this place because they've not been there before. You know, they had the privilege to go down the river. And look, we don't say this lightly. We don't need anybody else, so to speak, in order to join the tour for it to go ahead. We are just saying there's a few spots still available. And if you'd like to join us, do so, because we have had that experience for ourselves and realize how incredible it is. And as I said before, if you're sort of on the fence and you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is something I've thought about doing and I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I'm just not sure. I'm a bit older now. I'm not as fit as I used to be, et cetera, just reach out to us. But I would certainly encourage anybody who's been wanting to do it to actually go ahead and do it, because you won't regret it.
Yeah, I think the word you use there is spot on as well. And you know, not trying to sound like a sales pitch, but privilege is the word I used going down here. And I can see Joe nodding ahead as well, is that you sort of, without really realizing it, you get off the end of this trip and you think, when you start to reflect on the trip you've done, you just start to realize how privileged we are to be able to go down there. And the fact that you've gone down and conquered it and, you know, and got some great photos along the way and made some, you know, sometimes lifelong friends. It is a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to go down there and see this place as it always should be, and as it always should stay that way.
Yep.
So yeah, I echo what you say as well, that if you're not sure, if it's, you know, if you're active and you can, you know, you go for a walk around the block every day, or you walk the dog every day, or you go camping, or you go swimming or kayaking or something like that, you know, down at your local beach, or you do a bit of bushwalking, this will be fine for you guys. Like I said, if you've got really bad back or really bad knees, or someone mentioned they have a really bad ankle, then it's probably not going down your avenue of where you want to go. But yeah, it's one of those ones that it can be quite nerve-wracking to book it and go down there without really knowing what you're going to get in for. But the guides are, I would easily say they're the best guides I've ever worked with anywhere. They're just fantastic. Safety is number one for them. They put the group safety above all other things, which is what you want them to do. They're great fun. They do great food. They got great equipment. And then you'll have Tom and I hanging along to show you how to get some really great photos, point you in the right direction, set your cameras up if you want, depending on what level you're at photography wise. We can make sure you get away with photos like we've shown you tonight as well. So I would again say, if you're not sure, feel free to give us a call or check in with Tom or whatever. But you won't regret it. It's one of those lifelong experiences.
Now, somebody has asked, thanks, Cam. I totally agree with that. Somebody has asked whether the dates are firm, and I'm saying, yes, they are absolutely firm. What happens is the tour absolutely starts pretty much 99% starts on the date that we have planned, which is the 10th of November, which is when you need to be in Hobart. It may not end on the particular day that we have nominated. That's unusual. It might just be that we're delayed a little bit on the river getting down there based on, you know, the water levels, etc. But what would you say? You've never been delayed, have you, Cam?
I haven't been delayed. No. They run a pretty good program, these guys. I would say if someone's coming international, that you give yourself a bit of a buffer at the end of the trip, maybe a day or two extra at the end of the trip. Just worst case scenario, if I had to sit out a day or two because of the river or something like that, then we could do it. But I've never been delayed. I always get back to Strawn at the right time, right place.
Yeah, and look, it doesn't hurt in the sense that, you know, like if you've got your plane booked to go a couple of days after we get back to Hobart, you get the opportunity to sightsee around Hobart, for example, and relax and you know, reminisce, etc. So yes, that the dates are the 10th to the 19th of November. So you need to be in Hobart by the 10th, and you would book your flight to leave on the 19th, if not after.
There's a bit more of a Rock Island bend without it being in crazy stormy. There's a massive waterfall that falls right next to Rock Island Bend, which I always scratch my head about why Peter Dombrowskis shot the rock and not the waterfall, because I think the waterfall's just as nice as the rock. But
that's a great shot there, Cam. I hope to be able to get something similar next time.
We walked across that waterfall. We just didn't realize it was a waterfall.
No, that's more like a stream, but that we had it as a waterfall. Michelle, do you know Michelle? She said, cannot speak highly enough of the guides and their experience. And
Yes.
Cam, oh, this is she must have had a few wines. And Cam, his guidance and camaraderie and everyone involved. Great showcase, brings back so many memories. Well, thank you Michelle, for saying that. Look, and Leanne, who's commented on the Facebook page today, just commenting about how amazing her experience was down there.
I took a group of Tasmanians down. Leanne was one of them, and a few others, and we got to Rock Island Bend, and we got out of the boat. It was perfect conditions, so the mist, everything like that. And I got out of the boat and I'm getting my stuff sort of ready and looking around. And they're all just standing there looking at this rock. I'm like, for the love of Christ, people, get your cameras out, take a photo. And they turned around and they're all just in tears. They'd never ever thought they'd get there ever. And they're all just bawling their eyes out saying, same thing. I never thought I'd see this in real life. And the fact that we've got down here, we've got perfect conditions, that made their trip just that 10 minutes of, getting out of the boat just there. So yeah, it's definitely it can be an emotional trip, as Joe would attest to. But I think it's because you're just in such an incredibly beautiful place. You just don't, realize how good it is. So yeah, it'll
challenge you, that's for sure. But
Damien's only got 6 fingers and 2 thumbs. Can you do it?
You saw that.
We don't need to talk about fingers, do we? Probably not. No,
hey, look, we'll wrap it up there, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much for joining us. It was lovely to reminisce about our trip down there. And if you'd like to join us, just get in contact, and we'd love to have you along. It'll be a great experience. As I'm thinking now, geez, I wish we were going tomorrow. It really would. It'd just be amazing to experience this again. So I can't wait.
Cool. Thanks
guys. Thanks everybody for watching.
We'll see you on the river.
No problems. We'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.